The Huntsman of Adamos, The Huntsman's Honor, Book 1, Chapter 12, His Brother's Sealed One. After 4 sleepless days and nights, Yurieth rested for a single day. Then he began hunting. As Regulus recovered, Yurieth and Regis led the surviving assault forces and seized back half of the territory they lost in a 10-day. Reinforcements from Etheria were sent straight to the battlefront. The entire planet had mobilized after hearing the tales of horror from the battle against the Siren's magic. Yurieth killed every Zelutian who possessed any magic without regard for their gender, type of magic, or involvement in the battle that had claimed nearly 80% of the Etherian forces. Zelutians who had been grateful for the assistance and protection of the occupying forces now feared the wrath of the Black Huntsman of Adamos. Yurieth's first targets were the cities and temples closest to the last place he had known his brother to be. As they pushed into the mountains, a valley entrance that had been obscured by magic was discovered by the mage Odini. In a small village were several dozen wounded Etherian warriors being cared for by Zelutian children. Most surprising was that they were protected by a single assassin of the Blood Brotherhood. The assassin called Sangreal had willingly disarmed himself and surrendered when he came face to face with Yurieth. Meeting Materiel's twin brother was the last thing Yurieth had expected while searching for his own twin. The Black Huntsman led the armies deeper into the mountains and toward the capital of Zelucia, the great city of the Blood Temples and the Gate of the Shadows, called Umbrahimos Templos. He scouted ahead of his advance forces, removing all Zelutians, adults, who possessed any magic. One day he felt something familiar, and after much searching, he found what appeared to be an abandoned estate obscured by magic. The halls were filled with portraits and articles of profane magic. The mage Lord Odini and the huntsman Seamus had followed him carefully as they searched the manor. Suddenly, Odini stopped by a wall across from a portrait of the royal family. "This passage has been closed by magic." He tipped his head as his fingers brushed over it. His voice was breathless and surprised. "Light magic." "How can that be in such a place?" Seamus whispered. Yurieth touched the wall. To his magic, it looked and felt solid, but beyond it, he could feel his brother sleeping, and something surprising. "Abrieth is alive beyond this barrier. He sleeps and someone is trying to heal him." They searched the grounds, but could find no way into the hidden passage, so they waited. Over a 10-day after his grief was harvested, Abrieth woke to find Serapha holding his hand and glowing softly with healing magic, as she did whenever he slept. She could barely use her magic to do more than soothe his pain, but she tried as best she could. "Good morning, my angel." She blushed prettily. "It is evening." "Can we go for a walk tonight?" "I'd like that." She pressed her lips against his, then hesitated. "Are you sure you do not wish to have pleasure?" Serapha, I am not going to be intimate with you until we are married. Your body is your own, and I respect it, and you. When we are together, it will be special, and not just because that is the way of your people. My people hold the bond between sealed ones to be sacred. I want to show you I am worthy of your love and the sacrifice you will make by leaving your family and your people for me. He said it gently as his fingers traced the scars on the backs of her hands. I want you to believe that I will never hurt you or allow you to be hurt. I am trying to understand, she whispered back, looking embarrassed. I don't know how to show love any other way. Your care for me shows me your love. Physical intimacy is a part of love, but not the same as love. I want you to feel loved first. The rest will come later, he promised, pressing a kiss to her temple. Serapha helped him to stand, and they slowly made their way to the secret door. As soon as it opened, she peeked around for anyone, then helped Yurieth out to the garden. She had just settled him into a chair when she turned to find the blade of a huntsman's long knife pressed against her throat. She made a tiny squeak of surprise. If you kill my sealed one, brother, I shall be quite upset with you, and our mother might even murder you, Yurieth said slowly. Your what? Yurieth demanded in shock. She has bewitched you with siren's magic, Yurieth. There is no way this Zelusian whore is your sealed one. Serapha stood perfectly still. She had spent too many years in her grandfather's court not to know when someone intended murder, even if she could barely understand what they were saying to each other. Yurieth stood slowly and pushed his brother's blade from her throat. She is only half Zelusian, and she has none of their magic. Her magic is that of a healer, an Etherian healer, as her mother was. She has kept me alive against all odds, and even harvested my grief, so I would not go insane from the knowledge that I killed nearly 100 of my own men, and many more. She is coming with us, and she is going to harvest the grief of the warriors of Etheria to save them from soul sickness and insanity. I will not allow it, Yurieth snapped. Then you may go, Yurieth retorted in cold hostility. Your heart may be dead, brother, but mine beats and is standing before you. The mage Odini spoke in his quiet monotone. Lord Yurieth, you said she harvested your grief. Yurieth nodded to Serapha, and she spoke in broken Etherian. The removing of suffering from a soul is old magic, done by combing. The water, no, liquid that comes, is desired by the priest as an elixir of suffering. It damages the soul when given in drink. Odini's eyes opened wide. A liquid soul poison? Is there an antidote? Is there a way to heal it? Serapha pursed her lips. Yes, it is called effervescence of light. I do not know how to make it. I can show you the books. Yurieth nodded. In Zelusian he said, My angel, why don't you show Lord Odini the library? I am sure he would be very interested in the books on magic you have to read. I need to talk to my brother. In Etherian he added, Huntsman Seamus, there are also many detailed books on weapons. Your father was a master weaponsmaker. You might find them interesting. Yurieth stood with his arms folded across his chest. His posture and glare would intimidate most warriors, but not his brother. Yurieth took a deep breath. If you do not believe me, then read me the way Mother taught you. Yurieth stepped forward and grasped Yurieth's arms, painfully slamming the link open between their minds. Yurieth flinched, but didn't pull away. After a few minutes, Yurieth eased his minds from his brother's. I'm sorry. I did not realize, Yurieth started. I know, brother. You have lost too much not to be skeptical. But now do you believe what she is to me? Yurieth asked, and was surprised when his brother hugged him. I'm glad she saved you. Did you see her scars? Did you see what they have done to her? I know you know what they will do to her if they find out who she is to me, to us. I vow I will protect her with my life, Yurieth promised. But first, we have to get you both away from this place before the Zelusians counterattack. I am leading the warriors of Etheria through the mountains. We will be in the Temple City soon. I will not allow the war to be held hostage by the politicians any longer. This war ends, and it ends this year. I hope you succeed, brother. Did any of the other guardians survive? Yurieth limped slightly as they entered the manor. Only Regulus, because Regis and a healer named Orin of the House of Adamos discovered they could make the affected warriors sleep if they were wounded enough. What do you mean, other guardians? Yurieth asked. Yurieth hesitated outside a large room filled with books. Regret was written on his features. I killed the guardian Ra-Utath of Osiri. I don't know how I did it, but I did. I could hear Serapha's voice urging me to flee, calling me to come to her. He got in my way, and I removed his head. Yurieth breathed out heavily through his nose and shook his head. He was a fool who allowed those who knew nothing of war to dictate his strategy. The guardian of Volca killed himself after he woke and remembered how many he killed. Come, let us take your sealed one and leave this cursed place. Standing in the healer's hall of the Etherian-occupied territory, Yurieth watched as Serapha chanted quietly and combed the grief from Regulus's soul. Twice she had to empty the enchanted bowl as the guardian wept and shook. The mage lord Odini and healer Orin studied her technique intently as she finished. She had tears staining her cheeks as she poured the last of the essence of sorrow from her bowl. None had seen magic such as this. Last night, she had quietly explained to them the technique and how the blood mages used it to harvest the painful emotions from a damaged soul to poison another with. It was a horrifying adulteration of a healing magic that held great value. Regulus had told her he must be the first before allowing the magic unknown to the Ethereans to be used on his warriors. "I am so sorry, Guardian," she apologized again as she finished. "I know it still hurts, but the pain cannot be completely taken away." Regulus nodded, wiping his tears. "Forgive me for not trusting your magic or your intentions. You have made my guilt and shame bearable, my child. I am grateful for your efforts. When can you begin healing my warriors?" "I will begin immediately." Serapha stood and bowed, following Orin to the worst of the soul-sick warriors. Dressed as an Etherean healer, she looked no different from any of the females of the healer's hall. The blue gown and lack of face paint often worn by the Zelutian women made her look too young to be of marrying age. Her soft, coral-colored eyes were strikingly accented by her hair, the color of polished copper that seemed to reflect the light like a fiery sunset. She drew many admiring glances. Yurieth was never not looking at her. "Yurieth, tell me what you know about her," Regulus intoned quietly. "She is the half-Etherean granddaughter of King Apollyon by his fourth son, Prince Lucif. She claims she ran away and hid at the family estate because an oracle of light told her to. She felt Yurieth on the battlefield before the killing began and went to call him out of the battle. She has some knowledge of the use of Siren's magic, but not its power," Yurieth explained. "How is it that a daughter of the darkness has healer's magic and is half Etherean?" Regulus asked. "Her mother was a healer named Ivanye, who was taken when the temples of light fell. Serapha and her twin Demona were born 400 years later as part of a ceremony to provide host bodies for the one they call the Dark Queen." Yurieth frowned. The concept was still disturbing to him. "I thought their queen was called the Dark Queen. It isn't just a title?" Regulus looked concerned. Odini shook his head and answered for Yurieth. "The Dark Queen is some kind of separate entity of darkness. According to the books I have read from Serapha's family library, the soul of the first queen has been passed down along the Zelutian female line of the royal family for many millennium, possibly since the First War. She, it, indwells the host and is thus reborn in each generation. She is the true ruler of Zelutia, and the king, also possessed by something called the Lord of Shadows, is her consort." Regulus sat quietly for several minutes, then looked to his Master Huntsman. "Yurieth, can you get into the temple city and find this Dark Queen?" "Yes. Do you wish me to end this threat?" Yurieth could already feel himself killing the Queen of Zelutia, the source of his every suffering in life. "No. Study them. Find out their habits and what they will do if attacked. We will not lower ourselves to the level of dishonor by sending in assassins to claim victory. We will capture them and barter their lives for the rulership of this world. Regulus pronounced, "We will act with honor, regardless of how without honor our enemy is. We are Etherians, the children of the light." Odini and Yurieth bowed. They did not speak until they reached the outer courtyard. Then Odini put his hand on Yurieth's arm, restraining him. "Huntsman, if they capture you, you must kill them or die trying to escape. She will want to seduce you to acquire a royal child of the House of Adamos," Odini warned. "Why Adamos? There are many other royal houses." "Because of a prophecy. If a son of Adamos falls from the light, the shadow of darkness will fall upon all the worlds. Another prophecy states, there will be a son of Adamos who will rule many worlds." Yurieth clenched his fist, looking back toward the hospital. What of Abrieth's future children with the Princess of Zelucia? He was suddenly terrified that Abrieth would face the heartache of betrayal. Odini shook his head. "I sense no deception in Lady Serapha. She could not deceive both Orin and I, and she does not wear a charm of obscuring. She genuinely hates the darkness. She belongs to the light as much as any Etherian." Yurieth nodded, but resolved to kill his future sister-in-law if she betrayed his brother. "I will be back in a lunar. Take care of my brother, Odini, and learn everything you can from the books we acquired." Odini nodded, then added, "I'm going to send them to your father. His ability to discern mysteries is greater than mine, and your mother's understanding of ancient languages surpasses any living since the Temple of Light fell." Yurieth's mouth made a stern line. As Odini walked away from him, Yurieth called out, "Say nothing of Lady Serapha. My brother will want to introduce her to our parents himself." "If you do not kill her first," Odini responded in his cold monotone. Yurieth didn't even blink. "As long as she doesn't betray my brother or my people, I won't need to." And this is the end of chapter 12. The next chapter is chapter 13, Prisoner of War. Thank you for listening.